Hi, it's Deb James, the Wellness RN for you, and I'm here with more tips for practical dementia care. We're talking about uncomfortable conversations. This time, we're going to talk about the uncomfortable conversation of having a will. Now, a lot of people think that wills are only for wealthy people or people who have money, a lot of money, or they have a lot of property, and that's really not true. The purpose of a will is to make sure that the loved one's property, any money, any personal items, all of that is taken care of and it's determined what's going to go where, who's going to get what beforehand. Now, I've known a lot of people that have said, well, our family's good, we don't need a will. Well, let me tell you, families are good until, for the most part, they're good. But usually when it comes to legal matters and being the one to take responsibility for things, that's when people kind of fade out. No one wants to be held responsible because nobody wants to make a mistake. And mistakes will happen. But again, if you have a will in advance, the decisions are already made. So it's just a matter of making sure that whatever's to be done in the will is done according to how the will is set up. So, one of the issues that people have sometimes is, well, who's going to pay for whatever debts they have? If I am the executor or the executrix for the will, am I going to be responsible for making sure that all the bills are paid, all the outstanding debt, any outstanding debt is taken care of? Is that going to come out of my pocket? First and foremost, when your loved one passes, you may not necessarily have to deal with their debt. Depending on what institution you're dealing with, some institutions will forgive debt for someone who has passed away, or they may forgive partial debt up to a certain amount. So that's not a bad thing. But even if there is no debt forgiveness, you still have the possibility of making arrangements for paying off those debts. Now, companies know that when someone passes away, whether it's expected or unexpected, it's a difficult time. And most companies do not expect you to have 100% of what's owed, in a cashier's check able to send to them, immediately after the funeral. But again, if you have a will established, those are some of the issues that can be taken care of within the will. It can say, okay, X amount of money is going to be set aside, and that's going to be used for any outstanding debt. X amount of money is set aside from an insurance policy to help pay for funeral costs. Those types of things. Jewelry, that's always a big one, jewelry. If there's a piece of jewelry that someone has promised you, unless it's in writing, you may not necessarily get it. And depending on what state you're in, you may have to go through probate if there's no will. Now, some states, like the state I live in, Maryland, you go through probate no matter what. But it still helps to have a will, because then it says, it handles things like finances, debt, property, any property that's owned, charitable contributions that are to be made after the person passes. All those types of things are in there. what type of funeral the person wants. If they want a funeral, they might want to have, just have their ashes in a memorial service. Or, like my mother-in-law, she donated her body to science. She donated it to a medical school in St. Louis. And so there was no funeral, no memorial service. She made it very clear that she did not want anything done. She didn't even want a notice put in a paper. But that was her right. And again, if it's not in a will, it's kind of hard to navigate those waters with various family members. Let's be real. Not everybody is pleasant, and everyone deals with grief in a different way. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're trying to make decisions and you're trying to get a buy-in from everyone, and you're probably not going to get a buy-in from everyone. So the will needs to be made. Excuse me. And that is something that is done by an attorney. Now, granted, yes, you can do a will online. You can do a basic will online and just get it notarized, and it will suffice. But if at all possible, it's better to use an attorney, because attorneys will think of things that you won't think of. Like, where's the person going to be buried? What's to happen with their remains after they pass? Just in little things. If there are books or journals or something that, your loved one wants to go to one person in particular, that needs to be in the will. Granted, you could do a codicil, something called a codicil, which is basically an attachment later on. But then you have to look at the legality of it if your loved one has advanced in their disease process. So, and it's a difficult conversation to have. A lot of elderly people think, well, I'm not planning a will. I'm not going to do a will. I'm not ready to die. If I do my will, then I'm going to die. Explain to them that the will is going to help you, those that are left behind, at a very difficult time. You should be able to spend that time mourning and remembering your loved one and not dealing with legal hassles because no decision was made ahead of time. So please, by all means, have a will made, have a will done. And depending on when you do it, you might have to have it updated every few years. It depends. But again, just make sure your loved one knows that, again, you're not trying to trick them out of anything. You're not planning on them dying anytime soon. But you want to make sure that you are doing what they want after they're gone, and during a time where it's difficult to make quick decisions. And some decisions will be quick. They'll be out of your control. Those things need to be taken care of. And a will is the best way to do it. So again, you want buy-in from your loved one. Explain to them the process, that it's not any trickery or foolery, that you're just trying to make sure that their wishes, once they're passed, are honored. And excuse me, it can be a group thing where you can have other family members involved in the process, but it doesn't have to be. If not, if it's just one-on-one, you and your loved one, then you need to make sure that you mention other family members that they might be forgetful about. Family members that they've had conversations with about, okay, I want you to have, great grandma's tea set. You want to get that in writing. You want to make sure that those types of things are included. Okay. Again, difficult conversations, but they need to be done ahead of time. It'll make things smoother for you, for your loved one. It'll give you a little sense of, oh, okay, that's one less thing for me to worry about. I've started a online live version of my course, Practical Dementia Care. It will be every Thursday for 6 weeks, starting February 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're interested, go to my website, leave me a note, leave a comment on this video, or you can email me at deb.wellnessrnforyou@gmail.com. My website is www.angelictouchhealthandwellness.net. So I hope to see you there. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to providing some education and some things that will help make your life a little easier. All right? Okay, till next time. Be well.